In this video, I'm going to share with you an amazing trick that can make your CV stand out from hundreds of other applicants. I will show you how to make your CV so strong and unique that once the employer sees it, they immediately remember it. I will mainly talk about tech positions, but you can apply the same idea to almost any job in different industries. But before we get into that trick, we need to talk about the basic foundations of having a strong and effective CV. Without having these fundamentals in place, even the best tricks will not help you stand out properly. So let's first build a solid base before adding anything extra or creative. I'm pretty sure you've experienced this situation many times in your job search journey. You send your CV to hundreds of positions, and all you receive is rejection emails again and again. Most of the time they tell you that you are good, but there were better candidates available. This happened to me hundreds of times during my own job search process in the past, and honestly, it feels really frustrating and discouraging after a while. You start doubting yourself and questioning your own abilities and experience. You begin to ask yourself many difficult and confusing questions about your situation. You think, why is this happening when my CV is well written and organized? You also think, I have skills and experience, so why don't they see my potential? First of all, you need to understand something very important about today's job market. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you as a candidate in most cases. Right now, there are many highly qualified people competing for the same positions at the same time. So it is not only about being good enough for the job anymore. It is about being a better match and a more relevant candidate for that specific position. And more importantly, it is about finding a way to clearly stand out from the rest of the applicants. And in a moment, I will explain exactly how you can do that effectively. The most important thing in your CV is relevance to the job you are applying for. Every single part of your CV should directly relate to the job description and requirements. You need to carefully read the job description and align your skills and experiences with it. For example, if the company is specifically looking for a Python developer with strong experience, talking mostly about JavaScript will not help your case at all. Maybe 10 years ago that approach could still work in some situations. But today, companies are searching for very specific skills, and they want clear proof that you actually have them. I personally made this exact mistake when I was changing my career path. I am originally an electrical engineer, and I kept all that experience in my CV while applying for developer roles. That information did not help me and only distracted from what actually mattered. So the first key idea is to tailor your CV for each position you apply to. Remove all unnecessary information that does not support your application for that role. Highlight only the skills and experiences that match the job requirements closely. But that alone is still not enough to make your CV stand out strongly. The second important thing is the structure and the organization of your CV content. These days, employers care much more about practical experience than degrees or certificates. So your CV should clearly reflect that priority from the very beginning. You should start your CV with a strong section of relevant skills. These skills should directly match the requirements mentioned in the job description. This makes it very easy for recruiters to quickly scan and understand your value. Then in the second section, you should list your work experiences in a clear and structured way. You should explain what you did, what tools you used, and what results you achieved. It is always better if these experiences are also aligned with the job description. Now it is time to talk about the actual trick that made the difference for me. You need to separate yourself from the other 300 applicants in a clear and visible way. You need something that makes the recruiter stop and pay attention immediately. You want them to feel that your CV is different from the very first glance. What I did was simple, but it was very effective in practice. I created a visual diagram of my skills and technical knowledge inside my CV. Instead of just listing tools like Python, SQL, and Kafka, I connected them visually. I showed how different tools and technologies relate to each other in my experience. This kind of visual presentation is not something recruiters see every day. It immediately creates curiosity and interest in your profile. It also shows that you understand the bigger picture of your work. You can go even further by adding screenshots of your projects or real outputs. These visuals can demonstrate your work in a more concrete and convincing way. This makes your CV not only informative, but also memorable and engaging. You should not be afraid of doing something different and creative in your CV. You need to communicate that you are not just another standard candidate. You are someone who thinks differently and presents ideas in a unique way. And yes, this approach will not work for every single company or situation. Some companies prefer very traditional and simple CV formats, but you do not need it to work every time to succeed. If this strategy works even one time, that can be enough to land your dream job. That is exactly how I got selected out of hundreds of applicants for my position. Another important thing to understand is that improving your CV is an ongoing process. Just like any other skill, it requires continuous iteration and refinement. Every rejection can give you useful feedback if you pay attention carefully. That is exactly what I did during my job search journey. I applied again and again, and each time I improved something small in my CV. Over time, those small improvements created a significant difference. You should also remember that recruiters spend very limited time reviewing each CV. On average, they spend only about 10 to 20 seconds per CV. That means clarity and immediate impact are extremely important factors. So your CV should be easy to scan and easy to understand quickly. Avoid unnecessary complexity and focus on delivering clear value. Make sure the most important information is visible within the first few seconds. Finally, do not underestimate the importance of confidence in your presentation. Your CV is your first impression before you even speak to the employer. It represents your professionalism and your attention to detail. So take your time to customize and improve your CV for each application. Make sure it reflects your strengths in the best possible way. And most importantly, make it feel authentic and true to you. Because at the end of the day, it is not about sending more applications everywhere. It is about sending a better and more targeted application. Quality will always beat quantity in the long run. Another important point is to include real results instead of just listing responsibilities. Instead of saying you worked on data pipelines, explain what impact your work created. For example, you can mention processing large volumes of data or improving system performance. You should also keep your CV clean, simple, and easy to read at all times. Avoid long paragraphs that make it difficult for recruiters to scan quickly. A clear structure with well-defined sections will always perform much better. And finally, remember that your CV is only the first step in the hiring process. The purpose of your CV is to get you invited to an interview. Once you understand this, you will focus more on getting attention rather than trying to include everything.